Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Matt Bernier, the DRF Bets Race of the Day for Thursday, May the 31st, race number 8 at beautiful Belmont Park. And speaking of Belmont Park, will Justify take the Triple Crown? We're going to have to wait and see, but what I do know is you can join the Belmont Stakes action with free cash from DRF Bets. Sign up for a new DRF Bets account at drf.com/bet. Here's the field for the race of the day on Thursday. Again, it's race number 8. We're going 6.5 furlongs. Fillies and Mares entry-level allowance runners. You can download free formulator past performances for this race at the Race of the Day event page on drf.com. Let's handicap the field together in post-position order. And Matt, the number 1 cash might be an overlay at those 9-2 morning line odds. You and I were very impressed with her career debut sprinting at Gulfstream. She was then kind of thrown to the wolves, but she's dropping in class and distance.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if this is just a confidence booster for her, get her back into some good graces. But I agree with you. If she goes off at 9-2, she's certainly an overlay, in my opinion. Problem is, I don't think she's going to. She's a little bit of a name at this point, and I understand maybe she hasn't deserved to be a name so far, what she's done on the track. But I think there's more there, and I think you're going to get a good effort on this day. I
agree with you. She's shown flashes, and I think you could make the argument that she's one of the fillies or mares in this race with the most upside potential down the road. The number 2 Isotope is an interesting runner for Jeremiah Engelhardt and Irad Ortiz. This horse has already won 4 times, and last time out at Belmont, if you believe the Timeform US pace figures for that race, color-coded red, a fast pace, she battled another horse right into the ground and kept on going. Now, I know she's stepping up in class, but this one seems to be improving.
That's really the only question at this point, if you think that she can handle the hike in class, because she has been keeping, you go through and you can see that she won a non-winners of 3 in an open claim, or you see that she came back and she won that starter allowance. The question is, do you think she can run that well against this type? And that's also factoring in, do you think any of the other girls are going to take a step forward?
She has shown an affinity for Belmont Park. Her last 2 races at Belmont have resulted in wins with career best Beyer speed figures. Dave Grenning did a great job writing the advance for this race on drf.com for DRF Plus. The 3 Naples Princess, we have not seen her since July. According to Dave, Bill Mott told him that, she was ready to run in March and then had to miss some time with a foot bruise. Long layoff, solid field.
Yes, and I guess there's just so many things going against her, in my opinion. At the end of the day, you're talking about a horse that hasn't won since the end of her 2-year-old campaign. She only ran 3 times as a 3-year-old, was ready to go, as you made mention, and she still missed some more time. To me, this is sit back and wait and watch.
Yeah, I agree. She did run well off of the layoff last year, but that was over a sloppy track and against a solid runner, Mythical Tale, last time, way back in the summer of 2017. That horse came back to run second at Ellis with a 72, then win an allowance race at Churchill with a 78. I think the 4 She's the Berries has a chance. I'm just concerned about the pace situation for her because it appears she doesn't have a lot of speed. But last time out, off of the layoff, she ran really well. First time Lasix for Brian Lynch. And while she's run well on synthetic, her 2 dirt races are good.
I kind of wonder if she's more a dirt horse than anything else. And like you say, I like the way that she ran most recently. I picked her second in here. I think she takes a step forward. Second off the bench, the big concern is what you alluded to, that sort of pace dynamic for her. She's going to be more mid-pack, and I do wonder if those horses that are going to be more forwardly placed, if they're just going to have a major advantage on her.
Grenning reported in his article that Great Reviews' race 2 starts back might be a throwout. That was just an awful performance where she was beaten 16 3/4 lengths. But Dave said that Bill Mott said that after that race, it was a lung infection was discovered. So if you throw that race out, you're left with 2 victories. I think it is easy, though, for handicappers to question that Beyer speed figure from the last race. If the 95 is legit, she's going to be real tough in here. I'm not sure I buy it, because when you watch that race, there was no running going on whatsoever. The pace was slow, and she just sat a nice trip, and I don't know where that number came from.
Well, and that's the big concern here, because you also note the fact that it was basically a wide open race as far as spread out, where obviously she just buried that field. But the form of the other horses that have come back since has just been terrible. So I understand she won by 6.5 lengths, but the runner-up came back to earn a 59. You had the 4th place finisher come back to earn a 48. It's not like she was beating any world beaters. Now she goes from the New York bred or the state bred group into this side of this sort of grouping here. I don't know if I entirely buy the 95. I guess the good news is, even if you think she regresses 10 points, she's still a player.
That's just what I was going to say. If Andy was wrong 10 points, since that last race was an 85, she still has a very good chance. She was very professional in that race and solid while beating nothing, and she seems to have a bit of tactical speed. She also has the great Mod in her corner. As we see from this formulator fact, it's a pretty good number. Over the past 5 years, last out winning older horses, coming off a 2 to 4 month layoff in dirt sprints, 21% winners and a positive return on investment. The number 6 is Navajo, another horse horse coming off of a long layoff for Tony Dutrow. This horse was good enough to earn a 73 Beyer speed figure as a second-time starting 2-year-old, and then as the big favorite in the Tempton bombed. I'm assuming something physically went awry. Now we get her off the layoff.
Yeah, we'll see what we end up getting. Usually you think these horses coming off long layoffs are going to be keyed up and ready to go. She's probably going to need to be, because I think she's just going to get outrun early on, and that could be a bit of an issue. I wonder if, again, for these connections, is this nothing more than a starting off point to something bigger and better, and probably a little bit longer for her too.
She's by Union Rag, so you can certainly understand why maybe a 1-turn mile down the road, or even 2 turns, maybe at a track like Saratoga. The third finisher from the Tempton, a solid horse, came back to win at Parks with a 67 Beyer speed figure. Todd Pletcher has the 7, Albero Bello, and boy, this filly just has a wonderful pedigree. A winner at Keeneland last time out and solid time. Now, the horses she beat that day haven't exactly come back to distinguish themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's really, you can make a very similar argument for the 5 that you can with the 7, where, okay, you did everything the way you'd like to see it, but you didn't beat anything, and now you're going to be facing better horses this time around. I think for anybody that backs this horse, and I'm intrigued by this horse as well, I hate to make it as simple as this, but Pletcher and Velasquez right now, they're just so hot together. The last thing I really want to do is take a major stand against them.
And with that outside post position, you have to figure that she's going to take up a forward position, either on the lead or sitting just off the pace. The Timeform US pace projector has her just off of the lead because they believe that the number 8 New Year's Wish is going to go to the front. And that blue bar indicates that our friends at Timeform US believe this race will favor horses on or near the early lead. As for New Year's Wish, boy, she earned a big fig in her debut at Aqueduct, although I thought that track was kind of speed friendly. I'm willing to forgive her last race at Laurel. She didn't break, she rushed up. That's usually a recipe for disaster, and she does have Linda Rice in her corner. I guess there's a situation where if she gets that easy lead and runs her debut Beyer, she could win at a price.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I guess that's the tough thing to decipher and make a decision what you think. Do you think that that debut was actually what she was? Or do you think that was a little bit of a phony number? And I hate to say phony, but like you say, maybe a little inflated. And clearly, she's not as bad as what we saw down at Laurel, but I do wonder, where are we? Is she more a mid-70 kind of horse, or is she that 83 that we saw in the debut?
Limited positive data for Linda Rice, as we see from this formulator fact concerning New Year's Wish. Over the past 2 years, with older dirt sprinters off a 31 to 44-day layoff in allowance races at Belmont, 38% winners, a 351 ROI. It should be a real fun race. I mean, Cash is looking to try to reestablish herself, perhaps as a stepping stone to getting back into stakes competition. But as we take a look at our top selections, we're going to go with sharp horses that didn't beat much in their last race. They're going to have to prove it here. You're going with Albero Bello. It's Todd. It's John. Why else go anywhere else?
Yeah, I guess that's really the thing for me. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm just taking the easy way out, but in a race like this, where I think it is a pretty competitive group, I'm going to side with the red hot connections in here. And again, you brought up an important piece. Breaking from that outside situation, if you think the 8 is just going to go and clear off, she could easily, the 7 could sit just off of the 8 horse. And if you think that's the scenario, perhaps the 8 isn't everything she was cracked up to be from that debut. And I just think she could get first run. But I think you can go 4 or 5 different ways in here. It's a really competitive group.
Give me numbers.
I'm going to go 7, 4, 1, and 8 in here. I understand you can make a case. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the 5 horse ends up winning. It's just one of those things where I felt like, you know what, the 95, is that going to attract too much money? You also see Jose and Belmont in there.
I do wonder, though, if the 95, a lot of people look at it as skeptically as we do and say, well, maybe she's not that good. Cash will go down and this horse drifts. And that's what I'm hoping for, because I do think the 3-1 morning line on the 5 great reviews is a bit of an underlay. I think 7-2, 4-1 might be fair. I'm going to take Granning and Mott's word that the lung infection knocked her out 2 back. We're left with 2 wins then. And if that 95 Beyer again is just inflated by 10 points, if she runs an 85, she's going to be tough in this spot. I went with great reviews, but this is a kind of race again where I think you might want to spread. I'm going 5. Your top pick, my second pick's the 7, 4, and 2 in the DRF Bets Thursday race of the day. And it's a race that you could play with a new DRF Bets account as we prepare for the Belmont Stakes. You can join the Belmont Stakes action with free cash. Learn more, drf.com/bet, and approximate post time for race 8 at Belmont on Thursday, 5:18 Eastern. Best of luck.